Hi everyone, welcome to my review of the Canon G7x camera. I bought this camera to do vlogs on primarily, but it's also great for taking photos. I'm going to start off by what most people do at the end, and I'm going to give you the verdict of what I think of this camera. I think this camera is amazing, and I will tell you why now. Firstly though, I should point out that this isn't a technical review of the G7x. I'm not a photography expert. I don't know much about millimeters of lenses and the zoom. Well, I know a bit about zoom. Zooms in on stuff. But what I mean is I don't know much about all these different modes on here and stuff like that. So if you're looking for a really technical review, go elsewhere. This is kind of for people like me who don't know loads about cameras and photography, but want to know which camera to buy if they want to start vlogging, want to start taking some better photos if they're using their iPhones at the moment. So let's dive straight in. You're probably watching this video because you're interested in vlogging or taking photos. This camera is used by a lot of very well-known YouTubers. So Alfie Days uses this, Jim Chapman uses this, Saucony Jolie's use it. Who else uses it? Casey uses it. I know he uses it as well. Loads of people use this vlogging camera. And I think that's because it's in that price range where it's not really expensive. This cost me £380, so it is expensive, but for what it is, it's not. I'm going to start with the positives first, especially for vlogging, which is maybe why you're watching the video, is the quality of the video that it can record. It records in 1080p at either 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second. And what that means is, so 60 frames per second is a faster speed that it records at. This is good for like slow motion stuff. So if you film it, you can then slow it down, and because it was recording more, I'm probably getting this so wrong technically. When you slow it down, it looks a lot better, a lot smoother. I do my vlogs on 30 frames per second because I find if you're moving the camera around and you're moving around and stuff at 60 frames per second, it can seem a little bit jolty and it can look faster than it actually is. The next best thing about this camera is the autofocus. It is so good. I'll give you a little quick preview. And what I'll do, I'll put this footage that I'm filming here now into the video so you can see it. So I thought I'd show you a small video of what the G7X is like when you're vlogging out of, say, like these studio lights. Got some softbox lights set up, which I'm filming the video on at the moment. But this is kind of just a low lit room really in general. And you can see that my face is clear, I'm in focus, and it is actually a pretty clear picture. And you can walk around the house, as I do in my vlogs, and it stays locked on your face most of the time, as I mentioned. And I'm in a kitchen now, which is actually really dim, but it looks fine, it looks good. You guys can hopefully see the quality of this camera if YouTube has decided to let you watch in 1080p. If you're not watching in 1080p, click the little cog thing now and flick it over to 1080p. And then we can go back into the big, nice, shiny lights, and you'll see I'll get really white to begin with. And then yeah, I'm back in focus. There I am. And you can actually adjust the white balance on this camera and everything like that. You can have custom color settings for your videos, so you can make yourself look more, I don't know, tanned and stuff, I suppose. Slightly green at the moment, but you can tweak the settings and stuff, put some more red in there and everything. You can definitely see the quality. I can even see it in this little screen, but if you're watching on a TV or a computer, you should be able to see just how good the video quality is on this camera. Another really great thing I love about the focus is that you can actually use this flip up touch screen to put the focus where you want it. So at the moment my face is in focus, but you see these flowers. If I want those in focus, I just literally touch them, and now you can see my face has gone slightly more blurry and the flowers are in focus. If I want my face back in focus, touch my face, and there it is. It's really fast, really easy to use. So if I suddenly want to film something on my Mac, quickly touch a screen, everything goes nicely into focus. Back to me. And that is a really great feature. It's quiet too, so it means when people are watching your vlogs and you're zooming in on stuff and you're focusing, you can't really hear it. It's very quiet doing that, which is another real positive. Oh, it's beeping. Which is another real positive of the G7X. Now the next great thing about this camera I want to mention is the fact that it's got this pop-up screen, which a lot of vlogging cameras don't actually have. So this means you can very easily walk around and see yourself in the screen, make sure all your head's in shot, your hair's in shot, if you've got two people, you can see exactly what is going on the screen. Because sometimes if you're vlogging with cameras that don't have that, you may not be in focus, you may not be on the screen, you don't know if you're actually in the view of the screen. So that is a really, really handy tool. However, you do have to be careful with this because it is very, very tempting when filming to stare at yourself. So if you look here, it is noticeable on the camera. It's like I've got this little screen on this main camera that I'm using to film this. If I look over there at myself, you can see I'm not looking at you guys, I'm looking at that. And that is the exact same with this. So you have to still remember to look in the lens and just check that when you haven't hit record, check that you're in focus. Use your peripheral vision to actually look at that. And then you'll actually be talking to your audience. Now you know when you're on a photographer's Instagram or someone's Twitter or something where they upload photos and they look so good, they look really professional and stuff. 9 times out of 10, a lot of people may not realise that professional look comes from a blurry background with your subject in focus. And this camera is so good at creating that automatically. So I've got a tripod here, little Gorilla Pod, which is great. I'll talk to you more about that in a second. So I've got the camera on auto mode now. If I want to take a photo of this tripod, I hold it near it, focus, and the background automatically goes blurry. It's fantastic. All your photos look so professional with this, even just on auto mode. You don't have to change any settings. You just point, shoot, and come out with fantastic photos. I'm going to quickly touch on the other modes on the camera for taking photos. You have a really cool mode actually, which allows you to use different filters on photos that you take. So you can take photos and then choose different filters, got like sepia and a lot of filters that look like Instagram filters. You can do it right here on the camera. This is a touch screen, so it's great for flicking through menus and stuff like that. Another feature I really like on this, which I haven't played around with too much yet, is, I don't know what it's called. It's basically a photo of 3 little squares piled on top of each other. And what it does when you take a photo, it takes about 6 of the same photo, all with different effects, and then it merges it into one. And you can actually get some quite cool photos out of doing that. A really, really cool feature that I almost forgot to even mention. See this button on the side here, which has a picture of a phone. Now this camera has built-in Wi-Fi, which is so handy. So if I'm out and about on a nice, I don't know, country walk with Lucy or something like that, and we want to take some photos and put them on Instagram, but our iPhone cameras aren't particularly good, we can use this, we can snap the photo, we can connect this to our iPhone straight away, and then within seconds, you just download an app on this, the photo is beamed over to this phone, and you can upload it to social media. Fantastic feature, really easy to set up. The app is free. That was a real selling point for me on this camera. Now this wouldn't be a proper review without me mentioning 1 or 2 bad points about the camera. Now don't get me wrong, I completely love it, and when I was trying to plan this video, I was finding it hard to think of any, to be honest. For me, coming from, I mean, we were just vlogging with iPhones and stuff, so coming to this kind of camera was just next level stuff for us. So it's hard to find some negatives, but there are a couple of little niggly things if I absolutely had to give you guys some negatives, which I'm gonna do. I was telling you about the autofocus. Now, occasionally, it won't lock onto your face. I'll put in an example here from our last vlog, where we were walking down the street in Brighton, as you can see now, and the background is lovely in focus. Great if you want to see the background, and our faces aren't. I mean, I will let it off slightly because it was in low light, but at the same time, look how good it deals with low light situations. It really can film in low light. This was at night time. This was at 10 o'clock at night. And the G7X manages to film at night very, very well. And apparently it's better than a lot of other vlogging cameras, even in a similar price range to this one. Now another slight negative for maybe some of you who are looking to buy the Canon G7X, you can't plug in an external mic. There is no port anywhere on this camera to do so. And it doesn't have a little thing on top to slot it on. But I'm never going to use an external mic with this one. If I'm just using this for vlogging, it's absolutely fine. The microphone is really, really good. It's got a built-in wind filter on its own already. I would never personally see the need to use an external mic. But maybe for some of you, that is a deal breaker. I don't know. So if you want a camera that does let you put an external mic in, there's the Canon G3X. It's the next one up from this. It's a lot more chunky. This is very compact. It's a lot bigger. It's got a bigger lens. It's better all round probably, and it lets you put an external mic on the top of it. But for me, not a big issue at all. I like the mic on this. It sounds good. The quality's crisp. It's clear. I really like it. And a final little negative thing before I remind you of all the positives that we spoke about before is probably the battery life. But you know, iPhone battery lives are awful. We all have an iPhone. I wouldn't let it detract from buying this camera. I mean, the battery lasts probably a good couple of hours vlogging, which is fine. I always carry a spare in my pocket. You can get spares on Amazon for about 15 quid. It's not a Canon battery, but I read some reviews and it looks okay, and I've tried it, I've used it. It lasts just as long, it charges up nice and quick. So yeah, buy a spare battery if you buy this camera, which you probably would anyway, and that won't be too much of an issue for you. So there's my review on the Canon G7x vlogging camera. I'm calling it a vlogging camera because I vlog on it and a load of other people do because of this flip screen. It is a great camera, even if you're not into video, if you just want to take some great photos for your social media pages or for art projects, if you're at school or college or anything like that, it is a great, great camera. There are more expensive ones on the market which will take nicer photos and shoot better video, but for this price range, you are getting, I think, the best camera on the market that you possibly can for this kind of price. I said I'd quickly mention the tripod. This is the Gorilla Pod. Very quick demonstration. You can basically bend these legs in any which way you want, and the idea is that you can attach it outdoors to railings and trees and all sorts of things. So it's really great. You can put it on there and then the camera sits on the top. You could use it like an old style webcam, couldn't you? Put it on here and I can like talk to my mum on Skype and stuff. Quick thing to mention before we end, it takes a normal SD card, pops in and out like that. I've got a 32 gig in there at the moment. You can get these very cheap on Amazon now. Make sure you get a class 10 though. There's a tiny little number on these SD cards and it's a little circle and then it has a number in it. Make sure you get a 10 because that's what Canon recommends for this. I think if you get anything lower than the 10, the quality of the output of the video and photos can be worse. Again, I might be wrong technically on that, but that's the way I understood it. There we go. That was my review on the Canon G7x. You can find it online. I got this in John Lewis. You can get it in Curry's, all around a similar price. If you want to start vlogging, if you want to start taking much nicer photos, I cannot hesitate to recommend the Canon G7x. So in true vlogging style, I'm going to actually end the video on this camera. Please give the video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, if you agree with me. Oh, my laptop made a funny noise. If you disagree with me, let me know in the comments what you think about the G7X, if you're thinking of buying one, if you've already got one. Don't forget to go and subscribe to our channel, The Juicy Vlog. We do 2 videos a week, a vlog and a sit down video, so please go and do that. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you later.